But the systems of corruption are quickly outpacing the systems of accountability. So there's one, a federally funded $2 million study that shows that all of the electronic voting machines can be easily hacked. What else? What else? States question electronic voting machines. And this references the Ohio study. Every system that is out there, one state or another, has found that they are no good, said John Gideon of the advocacy group Voters Unite. Everybody's starting to look at these now and starting to realize that something is wrong. Well, you know, it really should have been common sense. Anyone that knows anything about computers knows that they're electronic. They're digital. The information's digital. It can be hacked. It can be reprogrammed. Now, you can have some amount of fraud on paper ballots, but the amount of fraud that you can have on paper ballots is much more difficult to accomplish on orders of magnitude versus one person being able to corrupt entire systems. I read you the Iowa caucuses were tallied by an Israeli defense firm. That's public news. And then, of course, you know, my favorite here in Houston, Texas, a Houston Chronicle article last week described how following the November 6th election, Harris County election administrator Johnny German used high security codes to tap into Harris County's election computer system and change some of the results manually. I mean, literally, it's been designed. It's been designed so it can be changed. Anything that operates on that level is untrustworthy. It's just that simple. I mean, this is it. This is it. It is 2007. The level of technology, the technocracy that we are going to move into is going to cannibalize and destroy everything that you have known in your life. You're already under massive attack right now from the pollutants that have been dumped into the water, the food, the air. And it's all coming out. It's all coming out. And that's why the massive acceleration of the police state, of the control grid, blimps in the skies, predator drones flying everywhere, police cars nexused into massive database cameras, tracking you, tracking everything you do, everywhere you go, sonic weapons, directed energy weapons whose only purpose is to control large crowds. FEMA camps being built by Halliburton all over the country, hundreds of millions of dollars of contracts. The government engaging in every kind of domestic wiretapping and surveillance possible, right down from your police departments all the way up to the National Security Agency, the NSA. It's all happening. It's all happening right now. It's all happening in your face, slow motion like a car wreck. You have to get involved. You have to speak out against electronic voting. You have to speak out against the massive surveillance state that's being put into grid, the panopticon, all-seeing eye control matrix. And for every single one of you that speaks out and gets involved, the levels of what we're going to have to go through decrease dramatically. And for God's sakes, for those of you out there that don't want to hear this, that don't believe this, just remember what I'm saying. And remember when the economy collapses and they have Clinton in office and she promised you some great New Deal socialism that you just got to sign up and get your chip or go to the camp or get your injection or whatever. And that's one of the things we have to become adult enough to realize. Everything that's happening now, every threat that we face, global warming, global terrorism, peak oil, every single threat that we're facing is going to be, whether real or manufactured, and that's part of it. That's the being adult enough to realize the systems of power, the people in control, are going to use these problems and every pretext imaginable to advance the centralization of authority, to advance transnational organization. They are going to take from you everything that they can, all the while telling you that they are saving you, that they are loving you. when they themselves have created the systems that have brought about all of the problems that we're dealing with. So a $2 million study showing that electronic voting is totally incapable of being trusted. Here in Houston, following the November 6th election, Harris County election administrator votes. And it's not just Houston, it's everywhere. But the fact that they report on it in your face. And then cut to New Hampshire. Obama had a 13 to 15 point lead over Hillary Clinton heading into the primary. 15-point lead. She cries on camera. The pundits all say that hurts her even more. Nobody wants Clinton. And then she wins. And then in multiple towns, we have people signing sworn affidavits. Some townships reporting 0 votes for Dr. Ron Paul. 0 votes. And then people come out and sign sworn affidavits. My entire family voted for Ron Paul. So far, we have 3 towns that are reporting this. Three separate instances. And what did they say in the first town? It was a mistake. It was human error. And then all of a sudden, Ron Paul has 30% of the votes, placing him as the third, puts him up into third place in that town. I mean, as Stalin said, it's not who votes that counts, it's who counts the votes. That's it right there. I mean, and in massive polls, in polls across the country, 90%, 95% don't want the voting machines. They don't care. They don't care when you have whistleblowers that get before Congress that testify. Everyone on the committee just votes not to proceed with the investigation. See, because that's how gerrymandering works. That's why all your districts have been redefined. They don't make any sense anymore. It's power sharing. The left and the right in this country, the leadership of the left and the right have been bought and paid for, or they're being blackmailed. I mean, you think it ended with Hoover and his file lists? All of the proof for the past century of intelligence agencies and small groups of people utilizing those intelligence agencies to accomplish specific political objectives has been completely evident. The media being completely manipulated and now consolidated. And then you have operations like CIA Project Mockingbird, where editors and publishers were literally on the CIA payroll to produce specific agendas, to squash certain stories. And then you wonder why no one in the mainstream media is covering the voter fraud, the obvious voter. You know, it doesn't take an investigation to look at the results, the differentiation between the results in counties that had a paper ballot and results in counties that had electronic voting machines. And then you see that the counties, again, that have the paper ballots all line up with the polls and the electronic voting machines don't. That, to me, that should invalidate the election right there. And now, now Dennis Kucinich is calling for a recount. And the problem is if there's even a recount, the same people, the same small group of people, it's one company, manages 80% of the voting in New Hampshire. And then LHS is not subject to public records requirements. The companies that are tabulating the machines and handling the voting process aren't even accountable to public records. Nobody can go in and even look at the software. And do you still believe, even after a $2 million study by the state of Ohio is showing? Well, let's go somewhere else then. Researchers at Princeton University announced Wednesday that common electronic voting machines can be subverted by installing software which undetectably alters vote totals, and as a computer virus spreads itself from one voting machine to the next. Computer science professor Edward Felton, along with graduate students, published a paper in which they demonstrated the ease of installing malicious software onto a Diebold AccuVote TS touchscreen voting machine, which would alter the vote totals in a real election. This report should finally put to rest the myth